This is where the flame of liberty burns bright. This is the Jason Veely Program.
Hello, my friends. Jason Veely here. You're listening to the Jason Veely Program. If you'd like to get in touch with me with questions or comments, the email address is jasonveelyradio@gmail.com. That's JAYSONVELEY radio@gmail.com. So, folks, as we speak, there are approximately 1,500 Central Americans. 1,500 Central Americans who are traveling through Mexico towards the southern border. And when they get to the southern border, it's expected that they will request refugee status in our country. And folks, I'm going to spend some time talking about immigration tonight, dissecting a few different things, analyzing a few different things. But first, let me just say that given this particular situation that we have, again, 1,500 Central Americans coming up through Mexico, eventually they're going to reach the southern border, and they're likely going to demand refugee status. In this particular situation, aren't you thanking your lucky stars that we have President Trump instead of Hillary Clinton? I mean, honestly, what could you imagine if Hillary Clinton was president and it was up to her to determine what to do in this situation? What would Hillary Clinton do? I mean, she wouldn't even give it a second thought. You really think someone like Hillary Clinton would sit down and say to herself, well, gee, let's weigh the pros and cons of taking these people into the country. There's some things that, could be bad for the country if we take them in. No, of course not. Hillary Clinton would welcome them with open arms. Doesn't matter that they're not coming here the right way. Hillary Clinton would welcome them with open arms. And you know what, folks? Dare I say that the majority of Democrats are also going to welcome them with open arms. You wait. Once these people reach the southern border, this caravan, as it's being called, they're going to be so eager to get them into the country. You're going to see people like Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, other Democrat leaders in the House and the Senate, other liberals in the mainstream media, making a big argument. Let's just take them in. What's the big deal? They didn't come here legally, but what's the big deal? They want a better life. And they're going to be painting the Republicans as bigots and xenophobes, as they always do. If Hillary Clinton were president, these 1,500 individuals would just be able to walk right on in. She would be openly advocating for that. But thank God we have President Trump, who seems to be taking a stand against this. He wrote in a tweet on April 1st, this is on Sunday, Border Patrol agents are not allowed to properly do their job at the border because of ridiculous liberal Democrat laws like catch and release getting more dangerous. Caravans coming, the president tweeted. Republicans must go to nuclear option to pass tough laws now. No more DACA deal. Well, that's interesting, folks. I don't know why President Trump ever even flirted with the idea of giving Democrats their DACA program, which would have granted amnesty to about 1.8 million illegal aliens in the country, mostly young people. That's what DACA stands for, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. 1.8 million. I don't know why Trump was ever even flirting with that idea. But regardless, now apparently he's saying, look, I'm not negotiating anymore. No more DACA. It's done. And I applaud him for that. Of course, who knows what will happen in 3 or 4 weeks. The president seems to go back and forth on this issue, but as of right now, he's on the right side. No more DACA deal. No more DACA deal. Yes, we need to do something about this caravan coming up that will eventually reach our southern border. Yes, we need to do something about it. Yes, we need to respond the appropriate way. Yes, we need to drive off the liberal hordes who will be calling us bigots and xenophobes and all the rest. You know it's coming. You know exactly how they're going to respond to all this, folks. You know how they're going to respond to the Republican opposition to letting these so-called potential refugees into the country. And you know how they're going to respond to Donald Trump's announcement of no more DACA deal. We know what they're going to say, don't we? They're going to, say that Donald Trump doesn't care about kids. Donald Trump hates immigrants. Donald Trump is heartless. Donald Trump is bigoted and all the rest. Republicans are heartless. How could they do this? Oh my God, they're putting the children out. They're turning away a bunch of young kids. Oh, it's so terrible. You see, folks, I have the Democrats pegged. I've been doing this for quite some time now. I know exactly what they'll say, how they'll say it before they even do say it. I know them like the back of my hand. That's what they're going to say. Let me ask you a question. I told you that we're going to spend a little bit more time talking about immigration tonight, this DACA deal. Let me ask you a question. Why is it our responsibility as a society, why is it our responsibility to cater to people who are trying to get into this country illegally, and B, already in this country illegally? Why is it our problem? Why is it our responsibility to cater to these people? Again, the liberals, they make the emotional argument. Well, because it's the right thing to do. Well, because we don't want to be heartless. Well, because they're just a bunch of kids. That's not an argument, folks. That's not an argument. That's a poem. That's an emotional, that's an appeal to our emotions. That's all that is. It's not based in fact. It's not based in logic or reason. So I ask again. Why is this our responsibility? To cater to these people, to bring them into our country if they're coming here illegally. I have a couple of stories that I want to get to, folks. Articles that I found on various websites. First of all, dailycaller.com. Listen to this one. This was published on April 1st of this year. California college tuition going up, but not for illegal alien students. The University of by the way, this is a piece written by Rob Shimshak, an education reporter apparently for the Daily Caller. The University of California system voted in March to raise tuition for out-of-state students by nearly $1,000, a hike that will not apply to illegal alien students. The system's board of regents approved the proposal to increase out-of-state tuition by $978 by a vote of 12-3, as reported by the College Fix. But California law allows illegal alien students to evade this charge by enrolling as in-state students. So here we have a situation, and it's really not surprising that something like this is happening in liberal California. But here we have a situation where people who are here legally, that is, the American citizen, is being forced to take a back seat to people who don't have a right to be in this country. This is utterly twisted. I feel like I'm in the damn Planet of the Apes. I really do. I feel like I've slipped through some kind of a wormhole. I don't know what country I'm living in anymore. California, you're like a different planet, for God's sakes. You really are. Catering to illegal alien students while making life tougher for people who are here legally? Are you kidding me? The hell kind of a policy is that? And I ask again, why are we catering to illegal aliens? I realize that certain laws in certain states cater more to illegal aliens than other states, but just as a society in general, why is this something that many politicians, particularly those on the left, feel that we have to do? Why does this mindset even exist? Cater to illegal aliens, cater to people who don't have a right to be here. Why do we think this way? Why do we think this way? All students, regardless of immigration status, are subject to the same tuition and fee structures based on their residency status. UC spokeswoman Claire Doan told The Fix. California Assembly Bill 540 mandates that illegal alien students can obtain in-state tuition if they attend high school in the state for a minimum of 3 years and earn a California high school diploma. So they can. Listen how stupid this is. Illegal aliens! I don't care how old they are. They're illegal aliens. Jason, you're being so heartless. Well, you know, folks, we have something called the rule of law in this country. I'm sorry to say. But we have existing immigration laws, and I want those laws enforced. Listen how stupid this is. Even if you're illegal, even if you're in this country illegal, in California, all you gotta do is attend high school for a minimum of 3 years in the state and earn a high school diploma. And voila! You can obtain in-state tuition. And meanwhile, tuition's going up for out-of-state students. That hike, again, will not apply to illegal aliens. Folks, it is so twisted. And again, the reason why I wanted to inform you about this is because it goes back to my central point. We are increasingly becoming a nation that feels as though it has to cater to people who are here illegally. And what's worse is that when you have those people who stand up and say, whoa, this isn't right. We don't have to be doing this. We have immigration laws. We don't have to be taking everyone and anyone in. We don't have to be giving them government handouts and free tuition and all the rest. When you have someone that comes along who makes those points, they're viciously attacked. And they're called hateful and bigoted and xenophobe and all the rest. I'm telling you, folks, this is a bad path that our society is going down. Catering to these people. We don't have to do it. I know it's politically incorrect to say that, but that's never stopped me before. Listen to this one. This article is a little bit older, from December of last year. A few months old. According to the CBO, legalizing dreamers would cost the United States nearly $26 billion over 10 years. $26 billion for people who are in the country illegally, who came here the wrong way. If we want to legalize them, even though they have no right to be legalized necessarily, because, again, they came here through the back door, it's going to cost us $26 billion. Again, that's according to the Congressional Budget Office. Announced that legalizing, this is from Newsmax.com, legalizing 2 million young undocumented illegal immigrant dreamers would cost the U.S. government $25.9 billion over a 10-year period. That is money that we can't afford. That is money that, frankly, we shouldn't have to spend. I mean, I don't know if you guys routinely check the U.S. debt clock. I do. That thing's going up and up and up. And we have people in this country who support the idea of giving citizenship, legalizing the dreamers. I think, again, the number is about 2 million of them would cost almost $26 billion. And I'm sure it's much more than that, folks, if you take into account the general illegal alien population. Again, that's around 11 million. And so if we were to give them amnesty, you can only imagine how much that would cost. Catering to illegal aliens. Is that what we've become as a country? I mean, we have spots in this country, sanctuary cities, where law enforcement is instructed not to cooperate with ICE. We have sanctuary cities where people who are in this country illegally don't have to worry about deportation. Even if we know nothing about these people. We don't know what their intentions are. We don't know if they're going to be criminals or not. We don't know if they're smuggling drugs into the country. No, sanctuary cities. Hey, it's a sanctuary for all. Unbelievable. And so I ask again, I know I keep coming back to this question, but this is really a point that I want to drive home. A lot of people in the news have been talking about immigration as of late. We got this caravan coming up from Mexico. They're going to demand refugee status. And so, again, I wanted to spend some time talking about immigration and challenging the narrative. Challenging the narrative that we have to cater to illegal aliens. We do not. There's nothing heartless about it. There's nothing bigoted about it. It's simply, look, we're looking out for our own people. We are our own sovereign country. They want into this country, they come here legally. Now, folks, I am supportive of the idea of expediting the process to get into the country legally. I still would have some kind of standard. I don't think we should just be taking in anyone and everyone, but I wouldn't be opposed to expediting the process. It can take a long time. So there are certain things that we could do to improve legal immigration while still vetting these people, still making sure they're going to assimilate into our society. But this notion that we have to accept illegal immigrants is just preposterous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Now, with regards to DACA, let me make a few more quick points. Then we're going to take a break. This DACA deal, which, again, the president is now saying is off the table. If it went through, it would have legalized 1.8 million young illegal aliens. Right? What kind of message would that be sending? What kind of message would that be sending? It would be sending the message, hey, America isn't serious about our immigration laws. Come here illegally and chances are you'll be able to stay here. I venture to bet, folks, that this caravan, quote unquote, that's coming up from Mexico, they expect to march right into this country. And why do they expect that? Why do they expect that? It's because our immigration laws are not being enforced. It's not that we don't have immigration laws. It's not that the system is broken. It's that they're not being enforced. That's the problem. And they know that. And so they're taking advantage of it. Legalizing 1.8 million illegal alien young people in this country through DACA would send the message that, again, we're not serious about our immigration laws. We're big-hearted and, we'll really be very, very generous and gracious to anybody who comes into the country. And, folks, what's going to happen is we're just going to have an endless amount of people coming in, especially if we don't secure the southern border. I shouldn't have to explain why that is destructive to any civil society. Just letting anybody in. Giving them the message that they can just march on in. That is a horrible, horrible idea. And it's disappointing that some Republicans embrace that idea. It really is disappointing. Let me end with this question. Again, and then I'm going to take a break. Are we a nation of dreamers, or are we a nation of citizens? Are we a nation of illegal immigrants, or are we a nation of citizens, the American people? Who are we? Who are we? The liberals, I know they love to throw around the line, well, we're a nation of immigrants. No, we are not. We are a nation of citizens. We are the American people. That doesn't mean we don't accept anyone from other parts of the world. But that does mean that we only accept people from other parts of the world who want to be Americans. That's the point. We are a nation of Americans. Not illegal immigrants, not dreamers. I'll be right back.
Forget about Bernie Sanders. Liberals can get a free education right here, 5 days a week. You're listening to the Jason Veely Program.
You know, folks, there's a lot of American citizens who are dreamers as well. Oh, yes. It's absolutely true. Why don't the liberals ever talk about them? The American people who are dreamers. No. Except it's always, these people who are coming in illegally, these people who are currently in the country illegally, they're the dreamers. Why is that? Why are they dreamers? I don't know. Listen to this one. This is from, it was originally reported, I believe, on the Daily Historian. It was later picked up by Gateway Pundit and other sites. It's from a few days ago, but I want you to hear it. Suspect deported twice before alleged rape of underage Seaside girl. That is Seaside, Oregon. A Seaside man detained by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement outside Clatsop County Circuit Court earlier this month was deported twice before allegedly raping a teenage girl, according to the federal agency. All right, let's see if I can pronounce his name here. Anastasio Eugenio. I butchered that one. Eugenio Lopez Fabian. He's 24 years old. Allegedly had sex with the girl several times before beginning in 2016, when she was under 14 years old. Seaside police arrested him in February after he allegedly assaulted her. He was released the same day after posting $25,000 bail. He had been charged with 2 counts of second-degree rape, 3 counts of third-degree rape, fourth-degree assault, and harassment. A mandatory minimum sentence of more than 6 years in prison applies to second-degree rape convictions. ICE detained him in the courthouse parking lot as he arrived for a hearing. He is in custody at the private Northwest Detention Center in Tacoma, Washington, according to the federal agency's records. Fabian was deported to Guatemala in 2013 and 2014, according to a statement from ICE spokeswoman Carissa Cottrell, who also said that Clatsop County Sheriff's Office did not alert the agency of his most recent arrest. Well, gee, how about that? More non-cooperation going on with ICE. So this guy, folks, here's the main takeaway. He's 24 years old, illegal immigrant. He falls under the category, I guess, because of, his age, a dreamer. Here's a guy who was deported 3 times, had sex with a girl that was under 14 years old. It's just unbelievable, folks. This is exactly why we need higher standards for getting into the country. Hell, we need just standards. How about that for a start? We don't even really have standards at this point, do we? We should be taking in the best and the brightest. We don't even know who's coming in at this point. This guy was deported 3 times. 3 times! And he does an unspeakable act for years. It wasn't just once. It was multiple times. And this happens, folks, actually quite frequently. Again, you hear about people like Kate Steinle, other individuals who died at the hands of people who didn't have a right to be in the country, particularly in southern Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, and California, and so on and so forth. I mean, I could honestly, folks, fill an entire show with stories like this. Young illegal aliens who don't have a right to be in the country, who commit crime, commit rape, deal drugs, and so on and so forth. And it's not all of them, I understand. I shouldn't even have to say that, but the fact that even some engage in this type of behavior is convincing enough, or at least for me, that something needs to be done. Something needs to be done. Can't just be letting anybody and everybody into the country. We can't allow it anymore. Because, folks, you know what's going to happen? You know what's going to happen if we continue just allowing anybody in? If we just keep granting amnesty. More people come in, a few years later, another amnesty. More people come in, more amnesty. You know what's going to happen? Is we are going to get away from the notion of Americanism. We're really not going to be America anymore. I mean, it's common sense. If you accept more and more people into a country that don't assimilate and rather, don't contribute to the society, you start to lose who you are. You start to lose your values, your culture, and so on and so forth. And quite frankly, folks, I think American culture is something worth preserving. I think our traditions, our norms, our sovereignty, that's worth preserving. Now, folks, again, we can embrace immigration and at the same time hold on to our traditions and norms. I'm not saying that, immigrants get us away from the notion of Americanism. That's not at all what I'm saying. Because there are many immigrants who come here legally and assimilate into our culture, embrace Americanism, and that's what we should be encouraging. The problem is, when we don't know who's coming into the country, we don't know if they're going to assimilate, we don't know if they're going to contribute to our society, become Americans, that's a problem. Because the more of those types of people we allow in, the more of a chance that one day we're not going to be America. We're not even going to recognize this country anymore. One could even make the argument that that day is closer than we think. All right, folks, another quick break. Don't go anywhere. Back in a minute. All right, folks, I want you to tell me if this sounds controversial to you at all. You ready? A massive broadcast company writes an anti-fake news script and has anchors across the country recite it on the air. A script that says, among other things, and I'm paraphrasing, although in a minute I'll read the actual text of the script. A script that says, we are going to strive to be fair and balanced. We are going to strive to stay away from fake news and to inform our audience with the truth. A broadcasting company sends this same script out to a bunch of their anchors across the country and has them read it on the air. Is that controversial? Is that controversial somehow? Of course, if you don't know by this point, I'm talking about the broadcast group Sinclair. This is the script that they sent to several dozen anchors across the country and had them read it on the air. Tell me if anything in this sounds controversial, because the liberals are going nuts over this, and I'm just trying to figure out why. The script says, "Hi, I'm blank and I'm blank. Our greatest responsibility is to serve our local communities. We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that station produces. But we're concerned about the troubling trend of irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country. The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories. Stories that just aren't true without checking facts first. Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. This is extremely dangerous to a democracy. At fill in the blank, this station, it's our responsibility to pursue and report the truth. We understand truth is neither politically left nor right. Our commitment to factual reporting is the foundation of our credibility, now more than ever. There you go. There you go. The broadcast group Sinclair sent this script out to a bunch of anchors across the country and had them read it on the air. How is this even a story? I mean, honestly, why is this controversial? They didn't mention anything political in their script. In fact, they went out of their way to be apolitical. They said that the truth is neither politically left nor right. So what the hell's the problem here? They didn't mention Trump. There was nothing biased. They simply said, we're going to try to give you guys the truth. Unbiased information. And yet we have liberals sounding the alarm bells. Over what exactly? I mean, honestly, you have liberals like John Oliver, who really I've never watched, never even really heard of, to be perfectly honest with you. But then again, I really don't watch HBO. He has a show on HBO called Last Week Tonight. And he said, in response to this, nothing says we value independent media like dozens of reporters forced to repeat the same message over and over again like members of a brainwashed cult. Gee, ladies and gentlemen, repeat the same message over and over and over again. Who does that? Who does that? Well, the liberals do that, of course. What message do they repeat over and over and over again? Trump collusion, Russia collusion. Oh, they were working with the Russians. Over and over and over again. I mean, talk about a brainwashed cult, John Oliver. Talk about a brainwashed cult. Maybe he should sit down one night and turn on Rachel Maddow. You know what? Here's what you do, John Oliver. Set aside a few hours to watch MSNBC. And you'll see a whole host of experts, political experts, giving their expert opinions. And I guarantee you'll start to notice that they really all sound the same. They all say the same damn thing, same damn talking points. Whether it's Chris Matthews, Rachel Maddow, who else is on MSNBC? Chuck Todd. Or is he CNN? I don't even know. Who else is on MSNBC? Remember when they had Ed Schultz on that program? Used to call him Leadhead Ed. That guy would get so worked up. His hatred for conservatives spewing out of every orifice. His face boiling over, turning tomato red. Leadhead Ed. Then who else is there on MSNBC? Oh! How could I forget Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski on The Morning Joke? Oh, yes. Yes, The Morning Joke. You see, all these people sound the same. And they always have sounded the same. Even before Trump, it was the same message. They all parrot themselves over and over and over again. Now, they might not be necessarily reading from a script, per se, but what the hell's the difference? Really, folks, the difference is Sinclair made a point to have their anchors deliver a message that said we're going to be unbiased and politically balanced. And that's the message that was repeated. The message that's repeated from the left is politicized, is propagandized, is a bunch of rhetoric. That's what it is. It's anti-conservative rhetoric. So if you're going to be parroting, I'd rather be parroting and repeating a message that says we're fair and balanced than get Donald Trump, Russia collusion. By the way, collusion, I meant to say. Not collusion. I don't think collusion is a word. Pretty sure collusion is not a word. It should be. Doesn't that sound like a word, collusion? Anyway, collusion, yes. Yes. So there you go. Oh, and by the way, Jimmy Kimmel commented on this too. And really, he just mocked it. He put a link to the story about Sinclair, and he said this is extremely dangerous to our democracy. So according to Jimmy Kimmel, this sort of repetition of the same message is dangerous to our democracy, which is funny to me because I don't think he's ever called out the liberals for their repetition. Only in their case, the repetition, the things that they're repeating over and over again is, shall I say, BS. That's right. That's right. It's BS. You know what it comes down to? You know what it comes down to with all this? And by the way, it's not just John Oliver and Jimmy Kimmel. There's a bunch of leftists who are outraged over what Sinclair did. Oh my God, it's so terrible, so controversial. You know what it comes down to? Liberals hate this because they want the lying, fake news mainstream media to go unchallenged. Sinclair, really what they did with this script is they separated themselves from the fake news mainstream media without directly calling them out or calling them out by name. They said, unlike the fake news media, we're going to be fair and balanced. And that pissed off a lot of people in the fake news media. They know they're fake news, but they don't like their fake news to be challenged. And that's why they're all ticked off about this. They may say they oppose fake news. Oh, they'll tell you. They'll tell you till the end. We oppose fake news. We are, fair and balanced, and that's who we are. We're objective columnists and commentators. But in reality, folks, they are fake news. That's the truth. They are fake news. I'll be right back. Folks, I really don't know when, if ever, the liberals will accept that gun control leads to more crime. Frankly, I doubt that they'll ever accept that. But I want to wrap up the show with this from BBC.com, that is BBC News. London murder rate overtakes New York's. A spike in violent crime in London saw more murders committed in the city in February and March than there were in New York, figures show. So far in 2018, the Met Police has investigated 46 murders compared with 50 in the U.S. city. But while New York's murder rate decreased from the end of January, London's rose markedly from that point. Ex-Met Police Leroy Logan says it is proof that London's violent traits have become a virus. Now you'd think, ladies and gentlemen, that in a violent place like London, again, that's according to statistics now, homicides, violent crime, etc. You would think that everyone has a firearm. Because, again, according to the liberal narrative, the more firearms they are, the more dangerous it is. That's not the case, though, folks, because in London, the gun laws are extremely strict. In fact, they're some of the strictest gun laws in the world. So my question to the liberals, and I've asked this many times before, I can never seem to get an answer, is how is it that in a place like London, and in a place like New York for that matter, where gun laws are so strict, how is it possible? How is it possible that gun-related crime and homicides are skyrocketing, going through the roof? What's going on? What's going on? You guys tell us all the time that guns are the problem. And you've enacted laws in these places, London, New York, that make it incredibly difficult to obtain firearms. and yet there's still crime. How do you explain this? How do you guys explain this? Let me give you a little bit, we have to wrap up in a minute, but let me give you a little bit more background about getting a license to carry a firearm in London. Again, it's incredibly difficult. Some even consider it, consider firearms in London to be outlawed because of how difficult they are to get. Again, this is from BBC.com. Getting a license. Getting a license is a long and complicated business. Every stage of the process is designed to reduce the likelihood of a gun falling into the wrong hands. It starts with an application form that asks specific questions about why the individual wants a gun, telling them they need to show good reason. The criteria are tougher for firearms than shotguns, because weapons that fire bullets must only be used for specific purposes in specific places. These would include deer stalking or sport shooting on an approved range. In contrast, shotguns tend to be used in more general rural circumstances, such as by farmers who are protecting livestock from foxes. Independent referees provide confidential character statements in which they are expected to answer in detail about the applicant's mental state, home life, and attitude towards guns. So you could see that the invasion of privacy here, the lack of liberty that exists, the constitutional issues. That is, of course, if these methods were enacted in our own country. Officers check the police national computer for a criminal record, and they speak to the applicant's GP for evidence of alcoholism, drug abuse, or signs of personality disorder. Social services can also be asked for reasons to turn down an applicant. Finally, senior officers must be sure that prospective shotgun holders have a secure location for the weapon, typically a dedicated gun cabinet. Each certificate is valid for 5 years. So, arguably, folks, the gun laws in London are much worse than they are here in the United States. And what we saw for the first time is London and their murder rate over there exceeding the murder rate of New York, another left-wing state with strict gun laws. Really, folks, I just want a liberal to answer to this. I don't think I've ever heard one try to explain this to me. How is this possible? How is this possible? Because, frankly, the only thing that I think is a rational conclusion to all this is what I've been saying all along. That gun laws are not the answer. That government is not the answer. What the liberals in the UK and in our own country don't understand, folks, is that government doesn't always have the answer. Government doesn't always have the answer. You know why? Because the government consists of what? Human beings, right? Human beings are imperfect. Their ideas are imperfect. So I don't know why we entrust these politicians, whether they're in the UK or in our own country, to tell us how to live and how to defend ourselves. That doesn't make any sense to me. Government doesn't always have the solutions because human beings don't always have rational, common sense solutions. Because human beings are imperfect. And man's institutions are imperfect. The only rational, real solution, folks, therefore, is to let the American people defend themselves. I would say let the people of London defend themselves too, but that's not going to happen. At least in this country, we still have the Second Amendment. I'll be back tomorrow, folks. God bless, and God save this great nation.